Good evening, fourth graders. Hope you're having a great day, great evening. Today's mini lesson is on estimating before multiplying. Now that you've got these two new multiplication strategies down pat, I want to talk about estimating before you do to make sure your answer is reasonable ahead of working a problem out. So let's do that. We did this when we added. If you'll remember, when we started adding greater and greater numbers, a lot of times before we would add, we would round these numbers to get kind of close. And so I might look at this and say, well, I see about 25,000 and about 75,000. Those are kind of easy numbers for me to add. And so before I even add them up, I say, I know I'm looking for an answer near 100,000. And that way, once I add them and I get my my complete answer, I can tell if I maybe am close or not. So like then I could do 73, 5, 61, 25, 4, 81, add them real fast, 2, 14, 10, 9, 9, looks like 99,042. That is pretty close to 100,000, so I can say, all right, there's a good chance I at least didn't miss this by a ton, because my estimate's pretty close. So let's do that with multiplication too. Same deal. So when I look at this, before I multiply 3,481 by 4, I would like to estimate what's going to be close first. Excuse me. So like when I added something like 3,400, I might have done 3,500 times 4, but that's actually not any easier. That's not super easy for me to multiply. I don't know my 35s times 4. So I actually, sometimes when I added, instead of rounding and doing, just all the way to the last place and then zeroing everything, I would sometimes do 2 places and do 35. I'm not going to do that when I multiply. I'm only going to have an easy time multiplying if I think of this as 3,000 times 4. I'm going to round out all the way to the very first place, because that's easy for me to do. I can multiply and say, well, 3 times 4 is 12. 1, 2, 3 zeros. And say I'm looking for an answer, somewhat reasonably close to 12,000. That way, when I do multiply 3,481, I'm going to choose area model on this one, times 4. I can say, all right, am I close or am I not close? And here's my 12,000 already. 4 times 4 is 1,600. 4 times 8 is 32, 320, and 4. And then when I add those up, this is why it's really important when you multiply. A lot of times when you do an area model or partial products, it's easy to really miss by missing say a whole zero there. And if I do my answer, if I miss an entire zero, my answer could be off by a ton. And this would help me notice. 1,600. 320 and 4, 4, 2, 9, 3, 1, 13,924. That is reasonably close to 12,000, I would say. I'm not off by a whole digit or anything. I rounded this down to get to 3,000. And so my answer I know would actually be higher than this, since I rounded this number down, and that is higher than this. So I think that's reasonable. It's just a way for me to check before I do it that I totally didn't miss it. 42 times 52, same thing. Before I multiplied these, I would probably say, well, that's going to be awfully close to 40 times 50. It's going to be a little more than that, because I rounded both numbers down, and when you round both numbers down, your real answer will be more. 40 times 50, 4 times 5 is 20, 0, 0. So I'm looking for an answer more than 2,000, near 2,000. But since I rounded both down, it's probably going to be more than 2,000. And let's work it out. Actually, you know what I'll even do here? I'll make a common mistake so you can see why this is important. So an easy mistake would be when I set up my area model, it'd be easy to mess up this one and say, all right, 5 times 4 is 20, add the 0. All right, I should add 2 zeros. But let's say I messed that up and I just put the 1. 50 times 2 is 100. 40 times 2 is 80. 2 times 2 is 4. And then when I add my partial products up, I'm going to get 384, and I can say, whoa, not even close. I probably messed something up. And if I'm taking a test like this, took me, what, 30 seconds to do. And it's just saved me, because I would have put 384, turn the page, go to the next question, totally missed it. Before I say, oh, okay, I bet I must have made a mistake somewhere. And I could go back and find it and say, look at that. 5 times 4 is 20. 0, 0. That's my issue. So it's 2,000. And that would make this be a 1 and this be a 2. Now I'm kind of close. I said a little more than 2,000. So I caught my mistake. That's what estimating before you multiply helps you do. Helps you catch your mistake. Okay? Let's do a couple together. 8,216 times 7. If you want to pause and work this out on your own, go ahead. Let's just make a reasonable estimate here. And let's say, well, before I do this, I'm going to just say this is going to be close to 8,000 times 7. I'm going to round this to the nearest thousand. That's going to tell me to round it down to 8,000. 8 times 7 is 56. 1, 2, 3 zeros. So I'm looking for an answer around 56,000. Not exactly 56,000, but around 56,000. What I'd like you to do now, pause, work out the actual product, and see if it is close to your estimate. See if your real answer is close to your estimate. Should be. Go for it. Pause and restart when you're done. So when I worked it out, while you were paused, I got, no, I don't remember what I got. Hang on a sec. There it is. I got 57,512, and I can tell, yeah, that's pretty reasonable for that estimate. Now, if you got something way off, like 5,712, that means like, woof, you know, I better go check that again. I must have dropped a 0 or made a big mistake somewhere. So make sure your estimate was reasonably close. Same thing down here. I would probably round out to the farthest place on both numbers. The 3 would tell me to round this to 30. The 7 would tell me to round this to 80. 3 times 80. 3 times 8 is 24. 2 zeros. And I'm looking for an answer around 2,400. So go ahead and pause and work that out on your own too. I believe it, when I worked it out, I got 2,541. Excuse me, 2,541. Very close to my estimate, so I can say, all right, if I missed it, I didn't miss it by much. My answer is certainly reasonable, no huge mistake. And that's it. So we'll do a couple more tomorrow. Make sure in your notebook here you've got your estimate and you've shown your work to find your actual 2 products. And you've compared and make sure they're reasonable. And once you have done that, you are done. See you tomorrow.